Welcome to Buy, Hold, Sell, Wait, or Pass for round 2. It's George from Fantasy Take TV. We have about 25 names, I think, here, maybe 30, I'm not sure, around that mark, and we'll go through all the players and I'll give my brief opinion on each. We go a bit more in depth in the podcast, but I cover a bit more players here. And yeah, whether I'll just say what I would do if I was in whatever positions with these. On the screen is my current team. I did my trades in the video, so they are, just show them again. Out Finn, in Setterfield, in DC, out Darcy, in Zeeble, out Bruins. I think Bruins to Zeeble is the obvious one. And then Darcy's, it's more like break even, looking after the long-term cash related. Just getting him, probably he's close to his max price by the looks of things, although he should have a big one this week. And then I will speak about Finn as well, but I think Setterfield's too hard to pass up, and that is my avenue to Setterfield. So I think we'll start with the defenders, and I think the first defender we can touch on is Samuel Doherty. People are concerned. My confidence in Doc is somewhat wavered a bit. He had a 150 in the preseason, but I guess low pressure in the preseason. He's had 2 high pressure games. I scored the one, I think 107 or 110 in round 1, but kicked a nice goal late, which definitely helped. Was also stuck on the wrong side and also stuck on the bench for a fair while too. So trying not to overanalyze things. I think the way the game's going, my observation is I think they're giving the ball more to runners like Yassard. They got Akers in there. Collins is getting a lot of outside ball too, so I don't know how much that is affecting Doherty. Not much mid-time. I thought we'd see a bit more with Walsh out, but we're not really seeing it. Doc, I'll hold. I think if he's your only path to day cost, that's fine, because he's going to drop money and you have to have... But I'm going to hold Doc. I think the fixture opens up. If he ends up your D6, so be it. So I can't see Doherty going that badly. Like, it'd be pretty hard to see him going under 95, but we know he's got a high ceiling. We know he has some big games. But we know he also has some low games. So also McGovern back there probably doesn't help, taking a few kick-ins off him. So I'm going to hold. I think if you need to free up money, I think you can trade. But it's hard to see him not being like a top 8 defender. So I'll hold. He's turned up last week and went 150 in the preseason game, even though preseason's different. So you know that a big one's around the corner, especially with these easy fixtures. I think GWS away a little bit harder, but after that should be a lot easier. So I'm holding Ridley. I think you hold for this week certainly, just because of the matchup against the Saints, who are playing the short short forward line. I think just their tools are Cordy and Kama. I think the concern is, well, BZT's out, which might make him play taller unless they play Baldwin in the in the twos, who has been training as a defender. And I think he played a bit deeper this against who they play against Gold Coast, so that's not good. And they got, again, similar with Carlton, I'm saying, like, McGrath's a runner, Redmond can run and carry, and Ambrosio can run and carry, who played in. They can bring in Hind as well, so it's just too much point sharing. And I guess we kind of knew this going into the season, but they did drop one of them around 1. And there was all this talk about game style, which I didn't really see, like a slow game style. I thought they were playing fast pace. So I think a few flags with Ridley. He's 500k. I don't think he's going to lose that much. I think you just hold for now. I think it's too much of an effort. You know, I think your Sicily and Dawson, and even Doherty as well, they're going to come down a fair bit. Maybe not a lot, but they're going to come down a little bit. Their break-evens are all pretty high. So Ridley probably comes down in line with them. I'll hold for now. I'll assess next week and see what the options are. I don't think he's top 6, but he might be good enough to be D6, but I'm not certain. I just think the role with all those players back there, it's a little tough ask. But, you know, Redmond went really well this week. It might be Ridley. I still think he can do low 90s, though, so I think that's okay to keep price. Assess, give it another look next week. Brendan Cox. So, yeah, Ridley hold this week. Brendan Cox, I don't have a good read on this because I didn't see the game. They're sharing the kick-ins around. It sounds like he's pushing up a little bit. I think the flag here is they moved him forward late because he did kick the goal late, from what I've read or from what I've heard he scored. So that is a massive flag, and that is I don't want none of this. I don't want him to, you know, they're having issues up forward. Can they change some things around? They've already tried him briefly forward late. Maybe it was to try and win the game. I'm not too sure. That is enough to scare me off. And again, when you pick Brendan Cox, you go into the game thinking, like, when you have to watch a player heavily, hoping they score points, that's when you're in trouble. Whereas if you're picking like a Nick Dacos, you don't have to stress over it. Maybe if he gets tagged, but you just know he's going to be a top 6 defender at this rate. So you don't even need to watch to stress over it. Whereas if you bring in Cox, you can't have to stress over it. He's a pod. You don't know 100% if they don't throw him forward again. I don't want none of this. And look, he might be a good pick. I don't know, but I don't have enough confidence. So for me, he's a pass. Yeah, that's just my reader. I don't want him to go forward. And I know that might be a low chance, but I think it's possible because they just showed it last game. So a no for me. Nick Dacos is a buy, pretty obviously. I think, yeah, he's just always around the ball, and he doesn't always get the ball. One day he's going to get every ball that he begs for, and he's going to score 170. So he's a tick, and you just ride the tags and enjoy the big games because we can see he's already done a 150. Dacos buy. Luke Ryan, probably pass, just because we've seen Luke Ryan have big games in the past and then have these low floor games. So I think you've missed a big one, so a small one's probably coming fairly soon. So he's a pass for me. Jeremy McGovern's an interesting one. So he took 2 kick-ins. We in the telecast on the preseason, they were saying that McGovern is fitter and he's having they're trying to free him up a bit more this year. I think that was Will Schofield. I think someone like that said that on the broadcast. So it's an interesting one. A bit too injury prone. I think he definitely outscores Ridley, but his history isn't super strong, and yeah, durability is like iffy. So I think a good starting pick because he'll make a fair bit of money and he has the high ceiling. But I think you're trading into someone who probably has to come out at some point because of his durability record. He's a pass. It wouldn't surprise me if he scores like in line with like a top 8. We've got Sicily and Dawson here. I wouldn't be bringing these guys in. I think they're going to come down in price. I think look for value elsewhere. But yes, get them in. Definitely you want them in your final team, just not right now. Unless you started them, which is perfectly fine. Liam Jones, I have as a sell or hold. Hold because he's going to make money, but he's also got a really bad low floor. So it's a little bit frightening fielding him a little bit every week. And if this is your path to get like your Setterfield or Zeeble or whatever, then sell, no problem. Like you flick maybe your Constable in the mid bench and you flick him up or something. So he's a sell if he's your path to one of these must-have players. If not, hold. Same scenario with Goda, playing a bit higher up the ground. I'm not going to score probably a whole lot. So Goda, like he'll make a bit of money, but if he's your gateway to one of these, must-have mid prices, Dacos, I think sell, but otherwise you hold. Will Day's a pass. He's playing quite well, but at 360k, Hawthorn are just going to get smashed. But he looks good, and the role's improved. He's starting to get more CBA, so I don't think he's a top. I don't think he's a keeper, and he's also got durability issues. It looks like if you started him, it might actually be okay. He'll make a bit of money. For Dream Team, I think he's definitely good, a bit more value based in terms of on keepers in that format. He's a pass in this format, but I think he can do like 90 odd. He looks good though. Hayden Young, well, I didn't watch this game, but he should be doing 90 plus. So I think he's a hold, similar boat to Ridley. Ride the bad one. He's got a big ceiling, so I think you hold. But I'm not super confident in him. You need to get Dacos, and he's your only. Yeah, I don't actually have the best read. Probably should abstain, but I think my view would be hold unless it's your only part. Dacos. Jack Bowes. Wait on Jack Bowes. Don't go early, I don't think. And people might think, oh, well, if I get Bowes in this week, I can, he might score 100 more than like a Liam Jones or something. Or not like 50 more points. And that's definitely possible. He's coming off a calf issue, which already makes me nervous. And not only that, they're throwing him around. So it's not hard, obviously he played a bit halfback with no Tom Stewart. But what if they don't play him halfback at all? Like they might need him back there, but like what if they don't play him halfback at all? So then you're in trouble because he can definitely score high forward pushing up, but with these higher forward roles, we see him with Flanders, even though they have no problem accumulating, sometimes it's like it's very difficult to score because you're not always around the ball. You're not getting those CBAs, those tackle opportunities all the time. You have to like miss out and then you push up after. So that limits his floor. So for me, just wait, see what his break even is. Look, you could go early and he might be a really good one, but the role is all over the place and taking on a bit of durability risk. I would wait. I understand that, you know, I get some points going early, but yeah, the role just makes me a bit nervous. So I don't want to sweat on that. So for me, he's a wait. But so those are my defenders. Also, probably missed out on like rookie. So if you don't have Wilmot and Cowan, I guess you can bring them in. Probably Wilmot's better. But I think most people already have them, and you probably don't have to have them. I think McKenna you have to have. So McKenna's a buy. Already averaging 85. Daniel Rich is out this week as well. Honestly, it's going to be painful. Not only McKenna, he'll get to 400k, I think. So he's a gun, a very good player, and he takes. So you have to get him. Moving on to the midfield. Some interesting ones here. So Rory Laird. People trying to use him as an avenue to like your Setterfield and Dacos, like splitting him into those two players. I don't like selling Laird because he's your main captain. So as we saw this week, those without Laird, obviously last week was absolute catastrophe and just one out of absolutely that no one would have predicted. But this week we saw why. You know, he's outscored like your Bont and Dunkley, who people would have had captain, and that's the point. That's why we picked Laird, to get points on these people that didn't pick captain. So he's your main captain. Don't trade him. He's going to drop this week. The 40 comes out, and now he's got the 147 in his cycle. So he's not going to drop all that much after this week. So probably hold price at around 650. Goes like 115, 120 plus continuously. I'll probably a little bit more, a little bit less actually. I'll drop a bit more than that. So look, Laird, if he's your only path to like Setterfield and Dacos, I can understand it, but you're probably planning to get in Laird soon. So look, I'm not interested in selling, but if you're really struggling to open up for Dacos and Setterfield, then could. I think it's okay, but it just doesn't feel right. So anyway, that's my take on that. Laird is hold, buy in weeks. Lachie Neale is a sell. Not a hold, he's a sell. Now, he might go big this week, and you might be like, I've just got the bad ones, and you know, he's just dropped a good one. Neale there's too much money tied into Neale. He's 30. They've had Ashcroft and Dunkley come in. He's just going to leak too much cash. So, you know, at least Laird has this 147 in this cycle, whereas Laird has, Neale has two sub-tons, I think, two sub-105s or something, for almost 70. He's 670, 680k. Like, it's too much money. Sell. This is your path to Dacos and Setterfield and Zeeble, and if you like Darcy Cameron or Warple, whatever, sell, cash him in. Just cash him in. Get him cheaper later. There's too many question marks, whereas with like Laird, you know, Laird is not sharing with no one. Neale is sharing with everybody. Jack Macrae, this pains me to say, but our beloved Jack Macrae, sell. He comes in this week, another 40% CBAs, drops more money. He's not a top 8 mid. You can't trust Beveridge. Cash him in. Maybe get him later if he gets consistent CBAs and finds form, but it's you can't have a 630k mid playing in the forward line for an entire quarter. No. I guess the only argument you could do maybe like a Bond, but sell, fortunately. Jack Steele, injured, sell. Now we'll go to the mid prices. These are tough. Actually, I've got also Andy Brayshaw here as well. I think you hold. He's a bit younger. He's still a main core CBA mid, or should be in there. And yeah, easy fixture coming up. So look, you've had a few bad ones. I think Andy will bounce back. Freo are really struggling, and I think that's going to hurt him a bit. Still think he should be able to do around like 108 plus at least from Andy, I would expect. So look, I think he's fine. He might end up your M8, so I wouldn't be selling, especially with his fixture coming up. Who's he got this week again? Derby, and he's got like Adelaide and someone else. The Crows and then the Suns. So yeah, definitely hold Andy. Again, like if he's your only path to like your Dacos and mid prices, then it's fine because you'll drop a bit of cash, but I'd be holding. Finn Callahan. I'm trading Callahan and I'm not really happy about it because I just got him. I just feel like I feel gypped a little bit. I know he's the durability issues are problematic with him, but he's just got through 3 full games fine. But now it's, of course, you bring him in and of course it happens in the first quarter where he cops a knock and he just doesn't look the same for the rest of the game. He's pulling out of tackles and stuff. It is frightening, but they said he's fine. The injury report is a stinger, I believe. I think I read that on Honeyball on Twitter. And that means he should be fine. Because remember Jared Berry hurt his shoulder, whereas I think it was just irritation around the joint where, yeah, I think he had to have off-season surgery. And shoulders are horrible, horrible injuries because they just linger and they need time to heal. And they can really restrict your movement and really affect your confidence. So they said stinger, so I guess that means you just go with what they're saying and he should be fine. So Finn's a hold, but if he's your only path to Setterfield, Warple, Zeeble, then I think you can pull the pin. So yeah, I'm very frustrated that I have to sell Finn because I'd like to hold him because I think he'll make 100k. But points on the field from these high CBA mids, Setterfield especially. I guess Warple dropped to 50, but he could be 50, he could be 70 one week, who knows? And then you got Zeeble there as well, who's getting bulk kick-ins and bulk chip mark and playing well at the same time. So again, sell if you need to get one of those massively priority mid prices. Otherwise, I'd encourage to hold. And I hate that I feel like I can't hold. That makes me a lot. Setterfield, pretty obvious, 90% CBAs, just buy. Definitely priority. Him and Zeeble, priority 1 and 2. I think I have Zeeble just ahead for the DPP, but I think Setterfield or more. I think Setterfield can do like your 105 to 108, and I think Zeeble's more like maybe 103 to 105 sort of range. So just like that's just how I feel about not a whole lot. You take the CBA mid over the defender. James Warple is a buy, and Warple's going under the radar a lot because all the talk is Setterfield and Zeeble. Warple is top 6 in the league for CBAs, not CBAs, for contested ball, averaging like 15 or 16 a game, which is incredibly high. I think it's 15. And you look at his fixture, North, Geelong's midfield's not very good. GWS, I guess that might be tougher. And the Crows, it's a very nice fixture. And I think next round 7, he has the Dogs, who are a bit out of form. I still think the Dogs are somewhat restrictive. We saw them against North in the preseason. Really restrict, but I think things aren't really clicking for them at the moment. Not too sure. So regardless, Warple's a buy. I would definitely try and get him in. Like I would trade Finn to Warple for sure. Just because the CBAs are high. CBAs are, look, they dropped to 50, but he should be still, even with 50, did 99 in a terrible loss. And I think a big score is around the corner because I look at his stat line, you know, like even disposal efficiency hasn't even been that bad. Like high disposals, very high contested possessions, and the score's just not coming yet. So I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign, but I do feel that a big one is around the corner. Warple's very good to have. I think it's going to be a little bit of pain if you don't have him. But yeah, flying under the radar a bit because others have taken the limelight, and pretty happy with it. Yeah, Warple's a buy. Jacob Hopper, it's come out, he's expected to play round 4. He will miss round 3. So I don't know 100% if he'll play in round 4, but it says he's expected to play round 4 on the Richmond website. So therefore, 1 week is a hold. Now, people are trying to, from what I've seen in Discord, well, they need an excuse to get in Setterfield, and now that Hopper's missing, they're like, all right, we'll get rid of Hopper this week and we'll get him back next week. Trades are still precious, and it's new. You know, we're in a different world now with fantasy or Supercoach where it's very aggressive. It's very get your points on the field. You know, reward the early movers. Trade heavy early. But you got to remember, like we still need to have the perfect team post buy because now there's an extra round. I think 10 rounds now. What is it? Round 15 is the last buy round, I think. Not maybe 16. I can't remember because there's 4 buys this week. So there's another round as well. So another round where we have the perfect team. So and that could be 100 if you didn't have, for example, if you had like a Sinclair over Crisp last year, that was 30, 40 points a week in the back half of the year for 10 weeks. Like it adds up a lot. It's like 400 points. You can make these points up back in the later half of the year, making sure you get the perfect team. Now we do have a lot of trades, but at the same time, we still like a lot of the big dog mids. They're going to be expensive. A lot of the defenders, like they're going to be probably 550 plus for most of the year. So I still think that you got to be, there's power in holding the trades, and when you hold the trades as well, it gives you a bit more confidence that you have all these trades. You can take a few mid prices that pop up throughout the year, and we might see a few come in the next few weeks. So I think we'll touch on probably in my round review video when we look for some plans to make some moves over the next few weeks. But regardless, there's power in holding the trades, because if you don't do nothing, at least you've got the trades there. Whereas if you do something, it might benefit your team, which is great, but you lose the trade. So it's hard. You got to find the balance. But what I'm trying to say is, if you hold the trades, you definitely have a trade, so you have something there. It helps you advance the team later. Whereas if you bring in like a mid-pricer, like a Brennan Cox, who's probably not a keeper, you're losing a trade, and then you got to trade him back out. So it's like 2 trades for, yes, you get the cash, and yes, it's aggressive, and yeah, it might get you some points early, but it's really putting a dent in your ability to get the perfect team. So that's my rant there. So that's my rant on, if you're getting Hopper back, I would just hold, find another avenue. So yes, Hopper is a hold. And then Cam McKenzie, I think people are a bit concerned. Like, do you bring him in? I think you can probably fade him now that the CBAs are bad, and it's pretty hard to bring in a 180k rookie in round 2. I still think he'll be a good one for us, but I don't think you have to have him. So he's a pass if you don't have him. But if you have him, like, certainly don't trade. I hope that Hopper rant made sense. I felt like I was going around in circles there, but holding trades is still good at this point of the year. Like, obviously you do your fix-ups now, but saving him for upgrade season, like, we're going to need them all. So see how we go. Now we'll move on to the ruck line. Ruck line's a bit messy this year. Looks like we have good ruckmen. I think we'll go into the preseason. Shrek sharing with Jackson, Cameron sharing with Cox, Campbell threat with Marshall, Tim English, multiple soft tissue injuries in the preseason, Max Gorn sharing with Grundy. And then Witts, people are concerned he's 30. Like, does he have the ceiling? Only back half of last year went sub 100. So there's just concerns everywhere. But Witts looks really good. He looks fitter. He said that he's fitter as well, which is a good sign. So Witts, you'd be very happy with Witts. So Witts is a tick. If bringing someone in, do you go Witts or English? English will score more, but given he just had 2 injuries in the preseason, given his history, he's 100% going to be a trade out. But I guess probably what's overlooked is he can seriously pile the points on, like, massively. So I think you probably go English just for the high risk, high reward, grab the points in the price rise, but be happy with either. So I'll bet against English just because of how I am. The reason, the irony is I've brought in Darcy Cameron, who also had a hamstring, but less issues than English, and Cameron had basically no issues last year. So I guess what Cameron does for your team, like, a lot of people in our Discord have Shrek, so you go Shrek down to Cameron, that gets you like a Finn or your Bruin or your Flanders up to your Zeebo or Setterfield. So that's a perfectly fine play. Now, Shrek will outscore Darcy Cameron this week almost certainly, but he has a 180 break even. Cameron has a 20 break even. If you want to make that, you definitely need to move on Shrek, put it that way. If not this week or next week. So that's why I'm bringing in Cameron, and he looks really good. The split is better than we thought. The floor should be 90 if he's splitting 55-45 like the back half of last year. And yeah, just looks really good. So I think he's a tick, and you get that cover later on. So I think Cameron is a tick, so buy. Shrek is a sell just because, like, the split. And I guess you got Radicalier as well. What do you do with Radicalier? I think you sell for better opportunities, but you can hold because you'll make a bit of money. So that's that. He's just not going to make enough. It's too slow. Slow cash. We already have like your Fergus Green and Davey will be slow, and Baker's looking pretty slow, and Chesters ain't making nothing, but at least Chandler will make quick cash. So move to the forward line. Jack Siebel, as we spoke about, Jack Siebel is a buy. Bulk kick-ins, bulk chip mark, and playing well, big tick, so get him in. Look, there are risks with Jack Siebel, obviously. He's 32, he might slow down, but halfback, it's not a very taxing role compared to inside mid. Less contested situations. And yeah, his I joked that his heat map was probably all like a big line across the goal square, and it actually was, just watching him. So bye. Now, Jason Horne-Francis, a bit stiff if you brought him in, I guess, because he looks so good, then he let you down the next week. If you got other stuff going on, I think you could hold him this week for the showdown game. He's still got that big 130 in his system, and then you sell him the next week for Zeeble or Setterfield. Well, it'll cost you a bit of money, but if you got other stuff going on, I can definitely see Horne-Francis outscoring these two this week against the Crows midfield, where like Schoenberg is just not playing. He's playing horrifically, and Berry's. I was pretty keen on bullish on Berry's prospects this year, and he's horribly out of form, nowhere near the back half of last year. So it's just Laird and Rochelle basically. So Horne-Francis, look, he's a sell because he's not a keeper and there's better opportunities out there. But this week you can buy. Don't buy. This week you can hold. And then if you have a bit of 20-30k in the bank, you can sell him to Zeeble or Setterfield or Warple next week. So that's what I would do with him. Don't be afraid to hold him 1 week. But yeah, as I spoke about in the video, at the game watching, he just work rate off the ball, probably just not fit enough yet. And he's very young. That'll come in time. So limited preseason as well. Tanner Bruin is a sell. What a catastrophe that was. Looked really good in the preseason. Fell for the bait. High time and 77 tog in the preseason. 60 odd, but I guess that was because they were, resting your Dangerfield and Guthrie. They just gave him a bit more of a go, and honestly, young players that go really well at Geelong preseason, I just think we don't go there. Is what it is. Some premiums, I guess. Gordon as a premium, so he's definitely a buy. He's the real deal. Still getting the CBAs, so he looks very good. So he's a tick. Cogs, I don't think Cogs is a buy if you don't have him. I think you got your main four most likely. You got Dunkley, Rosie, Taranto, Gordon. You got Sheasel, and you grab Zeeble, and that's what you roll with. You bet against Cogs. You've missed the 150. You missed the two easy fixtures. I think these Carlton not the easiest fixture, but then the next two are pretty easy, I think. Essendon, whose midfield's actually playing quite well, to be honest. So maybe not as easy as we thought. And then Hawthorn. Okay, that's... So I think you bet against now. You missed a big score. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Maybe get him later. So obviously a great starting pick, but I just think, well, you probably got these four plus Zeeble and Sheasel. What's the point at this point? Just maybe get him later. Hopefully he slows down or something. Chandler, obviously, buy. You have to have him. I can't get him, though. It's just all these mid-prices I'm bringing in, well, they're going to make probably 20-30k less than Chandler, but they're still going to make a lot of money and fix up my field and get me extra points. So he's definitely a buy, and he's what I do, a green to Chandler. If you've got nothing else on, I probably would, but regardless, I think green is fine to hold. Might be a bit of a slow burn, and I think the 70s and 80s will come with Green eventually. Kick 4 behind, and he's a good player, and no Guns, no Lewis, so I think they need him up there. So Green is you don't have to pick him because you're better off bringing in Chandler. But if you already have him, I'd probably just hold. So if you've got nothing else on, you can go to Chandler. But I think probably lean hold. Case anyway. And then the last one I have is Kama. So obviously played quite well. 102k, which is quite nice. I'd go Chandler over him. Most people probably have a Chandler in green setup or a Davey green or whatever they got. He's just a bit hard to bring in, and his scoring is, given the role, isn't going to be too good. But he's been a very good pick, and he'll probably make 150k because he looks good, and they got injuries up forward. So I think he's just a pass. But if you have him, you're very happy. So. I think that's it. I'm not sure if I missed any players. Let me know what you think. But I guess the main buys this week, I think this week seems pretty obvious. I think the fun begins in the next few weeks when like your Bose pops up and whatnot, and you know how people maneuver to get in like a Clayton Oliver and you know Sicily and Dawson coming down. So how are people going to get those guys in? Whereas this week it's very much corrections and you know obvious. Setterfield's obvious pick, Warple seems obvious pick, Zeeble seems obvious pick. It's just getting these guys in. Dacos as well if you don't have him, Gordon if you didn't start him, and then like your Darcy Cameron. Now that we know that the ruck split looks a lot better and should continue, you would think. And also like people jumping on English as well, but yeah, just be prepared to trade English out at some point because it all looks like rainbows and lollipops when he's going well, and he's going to get you lots of points, so that's a massive positive. But most likely something will happen to him because it just historically his durability is atrocious. So that is that. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. Leave any questions below. I've tried to get every question this week. In the preseason I slacked off a bit, probably focused a bit more on the members stuff, but yeah, I'll try to get to every question now, and that's just my opinion. So look, I'm not having the best year I think in terms of my preseason analysis. You know, got some picks right, like your Warple, but you know, missed out on like your Setterfield, Zeeble, misread a few things, which is okay, like Bruin as well. But confidence is slightly not what it was probably a few years ago. But just got to knuckle down and hopefully do well. And I'll give my opinion, and hopefully that can help a little bit decision making. But yeah, always make your own decisions, whatnot, and you go with your gut. So I'm only trying to help, not telling you what to do. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.